There was something so surreal about the Netflix roast of Kevin Hart. It was the first time I genuinely felt without a shadow of a doubt that I was watching art produced under a fascist regime. It distinctly felt cruel, ugly, and pointless. Who exactly were we supposed to root for? This wasn't bringing people together through the universal language of comedy at a time rife with global fascism and instability. It could have been a cultural moment showing that despite the ugliest, most mediocre white men doing everything in their power to ruin the entire genre by screaming about how censored they are in multi-million-dollar Netflix specials every year, that still talented comics from a wide variety of backgrounds could come together to bring the house down.
The black community is so proud of you. Right now, George Floyd is looking up at us all laughing.
For the uninitiated, the comedy roast started in the Friars Club as early as 1904 and was a formal event until 1949, with the first guest of honor being the French singer and actor Maurice Chevalier. In the 1970s, Dean Martin took what was once a sacred tradition done entirely in secret and brought it into the mainstream by doing Dean Martin celebrity roasts.
Like a gay tarantella. Like a gay tarantella? Apparently, Dean, there's a side view we know nothing about.
Which became a staple on NBC television from 1973 to 1984. The club's motto, which is still used today, is "We only roast the ones we love." A creed meant to exemplify that the tradition is not just about being as mean or offensive as possible, but honoring your peers' talents by delivering the funniest set you possibly can out of sheer respect. Respect and love lined the rims of the champagne glasses that filled the Friars Club, making the entire roast a coveted event. Sitting amongst your peers to bask in the joy of a mutually respected talent in the art of comedy. A true honor. But if you're my generation, it's most likely that your introduction to the world of the Sting Kings came from the Comedy Central roasts.
Look at you, you horse-toothed bastard. Corolla, you got a mouthful of 2x4s. Every time you smile, I remember to waterproof my deck.
The stuff of absolute legend.
Nobody should know Anthony. I refuse to learn his last shitty name. I learned Galifianakis. That's the last shitty last name this gonna learn in this funky town.
Way too edgy for television, filled with shocked cast members and some of the earliest versions of witnessing public shaming, the likes of which would become completely normalized and accessible through the internet years later. It really did feel like the unknown comedians of tomorrow were all given the opportunity to finally make fun of the rich and famous.
Great Trump! Where are these women of who you speak, who possess the coveted fourth hole?
In a lot of cases, Horyuken, so hard it rattled their diamond teeth.
And Coulter, if you're here, who's scaring the crows away from our crops?
So what changed? Well, in a lot of ways, the world. At the time, Donald Trump was a rich asshole celebrity with dreams of one day running for president. I mean, now that same insecure child rapist is the fascist ruler of America and having the sycophants and taint sweepers flirt with calling black legends the N-word.
No, a fist fight on a private plane, proof that no matter how much money black people have, they're still just gonna act like ninjas.
See, being a racist for laughs doesn't hit as hard when racists are in control of the most powerful military in history and using it to do racist imperial death and destruction around the world.
Black community is so proud of you. Right now, George Floyd is looking up at us all laughing so hard that he can't breathe. God bless you, Kevin. God bless this room. And God bless the United States of America.
I say this as someone who loves the art of the roast, alongside Chappelle's Show and Key and Peele. The Comedy Central roasts are amongst the funniest content the network ever produced. Was it nasty, offensive, racist, homophobic? Yes, all those things. But not exclusively.
Last year we had Martha Stewart, who sells sheets, and now we have Ann Coulter, who cuts eye holes in them.
There were still heroes you could root for that would flex their comedy chops at the right opportunity to take down a career-long white supremacist like Ann Coulter.
Ann Coulter is here, which can mean only one thing. Someone must have said her name 3 times. Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice!
Before you accuse me of the obvious, you only like jokes that go after people you don't like, because comedy is subjective.
Funny cops! You're always pushing the envelope, Andy. What's gonna happen when you run out of funny crimes like graffiti and pickpockets? Can't wait to see episode 10 when Brooklyn Nine-Nine has to deal with a rape. Oh, I dropped the rape kit, schmorgy-dord!
This isn't the soy right or the faux identity politics of the libs. Even though I think he's a bigot, I still thought Shane Gillis had some funny lines.
White host. Big applause. All right. I'd just like to thank Netflix for choosing me to host this celebration of black excellence.
The clear difference between him and Kill Tony is that he can actually write jokes. I mean, it was a really odd choice to cast him as the roast master, one made by Netflix producers who knew the secret to a successful roast was how much controversy it could generate online. In a time where you have to compete between how many more Epstein files the president is in, or the imperial wars who will start, or Israel's genocide of Palestine, or the destruction of Lebanon, climate change ready to make this another summer of oh god, turn it off, and 40% more AI slop polluting the internet, it makes sense to celebrate one of the most successful black comedians in history with Andrew Dice Efsler.
Kevin actually did really well in Saudi Arabia, but only because they thought he was the monkey from Aladdin. Abu. They were thinking about Abu. Abu, which is actually coincidentally what Kevin hears every time he puts out one of his dog shit specials.
So here's my problem. This is a dad joke. It's supposed to be elevated to the level of a legendary roast joke through the taboo of calling a black man a monkey in 2026, but at its core, it's just a racist dad joke. The majority of both Kill Tony podcast roast jokes were just variations of the same template over and over again. Take something that is small or short and then combine it with a reference to the racial oppression of black people.
Kevin's ancestors came to America in a slave ship in a bottle. Kevin's so short that they're gonna have to lynch him from a bonsai tree.
If Kevin was a slave, his song would be, "Let my people grow." He was raised by a single mother and a stepladder.
And I'm not being the joke police. I mean, love what you want to love.
No.
I just find this to be incredibly hack.
She was on a show called The Talk for 13 years. If you never saw it, here's what you missed. No, hold up.
Does it really count as a joke or even a roast if you're an actual fascist propagandist?
The Smithsonian is out of control, where everything discussed is how horrible our country is, how bad slavery was, and how unaccomplished the downtrodden have been.
Fair Housing Act dates to 1968. It says you can't refuse to rent to someone or refuse to sell a house to someone on account of their race or their color or religion or national origin or any other factor against which we're supposed to be protected from discrimination. According to current and former employees of the Department of Housing and Urban Development under Donald Trump, they have dropped.
A saving grace could have been a talented feminist taking the stage to call out
Chelsea is a Zionist.
So she's okay with a schoolroom full of children being killed by Israel every single day.
What were they going to say about me? They couldn't say anything other than that I'm a whore or my age. I think that was the other thing.
Chelsea is a Zionist.
Not sure that's an actual feminist. This guy here is a straight up pedophile. Yeah, Jeff Ross groomed a 15-year-old. It's not even an industry secret. It's something that anyone who chooses to still work with him is most likely fully aware of.
How do you get teens? I'm sorry, I read that wrong. How do you get...
Jeff Ross, you're a staple on the roasting circuit and a predator at high school dances.
Jessica Radke claimed that she began a sexual relationship with Jeff when she was a minor and he was 33. She provided pictures and video of them together when she was a teenager, had essays from the time detailing the relationship, told close family members, and according to Vulture/The Independent, multiple unnamed sources confirmed they were aware of the relationship. Ross would eventually claim they had a consensual sexual relationship once she was an adult and attempted to sue her for defamation, but it was dropped in 2023. So why the fuck is this disgusting freak still allowed to participate in these events at all? The idea of not only inviting an alleged child rapist to a comedy celebration, claiming him to be an embodiment of the entire format as the Roast Master General, like the goddamn mascot,
The Roastmaster General, Jeff Ross,
isn't just tone deaf. It makes you co-signers of this monster's behavior. Tony.
Shout out to the Roastmaster General Jeff Ross, our Kill Tony family that was there.
Greg Giraldo was funnier than Jeff Ross ever was. So was Patrice O'Neill. Or Gilbert Gottfried. They're the legendary Roastmasters, not this weird misshapen fetus.
It's my production. We're live. The more is what? Like, what is it that you expect me? You want me to take a live production and stand up and fight Tony or have a reaction? Like,
that's because he's a fan of you.
Mm-hmm.
He saw the joke and it picked up pretty big. So I didn't know if you saw it, but he basically said, like, as a fan of you and knowing that you came to the funeral to support his family, even though it's a roast and Tony, that's what he does, they expected you to kind of be the person that would, like, stop it right in the moment.
But they are they are fat, ugly, black, and Jewish. Everything I said was real about them, just a reminder.
People did what they were supposed to do, but I mean, these roasts, it's like, they're just mean.
Some of the feeling, you're right, dude, some of the feeling that you get with it, it's like, it's intense, it's funny, and some of it is like, some of it is kind of like, yeah, what feeling do I really leave here with in the end?
So that feeling they're describing, but don't have the words or language for yet, it's called punching down.
Targets are underdogs, and comedy traditionally has picked on people in power, people who abuse their power. Women and gays and immigrants are kind of, to my way of thinking, underdogs.
Tony Hinchcliffe isn't some random nobody who looks like he can't decide between dressing as a magician or a sex offender. He was a paid keynote speaker at a fascist rally.
I'm just here to say that you guys are for the right candidate. Tell your friends. Let's close it out.
When he does an entire set about dehumanizing black people to their faces, the government he helped elect is actively stripping away their civil rights.
Louisiana, Alabama, Tennessee, and Mississippi, all southern red states, are working to redraw their House congressional maps following the Supreme Court's decision that essentially gutted the landmark Voting Rights Act of 1965.
Y'all do this under the orders of somebody that said the Civil Rights Act was harmful to white people, that it caused reverse racism. RFK said that black children are overfilled on antidepressants and that they need to be reparented on different farms.
So what about Shane, the Roastmaster? He actually had the most unique and memorable moment of the night when he said something completely off script.
I do it for the balcony. I do it for the upper decks. Fuck all these people down here. Why would you put rich pussies down here? Look at these animals up here, yeah.
This feels like something, right? Something almost greater than Shane, like he's somehow calling out the spoiled rich brats, the uptight libs who won't laugh when they're not safely above in their ivory towers. Shane Gillis was fired from SNL. Old podcast episodes surfaced where he said a bunch of racist and homophobic bullshit and he was dropped. He lost everything. The machine turned against him. But he continued to perform in the Kill Tony and podcast circuit until he became so successful that he was eventually invited back on to host the show. The biggest fuck you possible in Hollywood. So he knows what it's like. But success is also a double-edged sword. He's now a rich multimillionaire podcast bro getting paid tens of thousands of dollars to call a black entertainer a monkey? The cheap seats get it though. They're not rich tone policing woke scolds. They're just poor racists like you. Gallows humor from the Dungeon Master.
Being 5'1" sucks, but at least you can tell them apart from all the other blacks. Yeah, they told me to be racist, huh? Nice flute, you fat fucking bitch.
The George Floyd joke that Tony told, but I believe on the side of the Cookout crew, Pete Davidson represented with the Charlie Kirk joke.
Tony reminds me of Charlie Kirk, in that he's definitely been on camera letting a guy unload in his throat.
You gotta be offended by both or neither.
Do you? Is that it? Either everything is offensive or nothing is? You either die a woke scold or live long enough to see yourself become the soy? Comedy is subjective. Pretending you don't have taste or hiding behind a paper shield but nothing offends you doesn't change the effect your entertainment has. There's no reason to be ashamed for having an opinion, and it doesn't make you less of a man to be offended by something. As a baseline, I hope you'd agree genocide is pretty offensive.
Chelsea is a Zionist.
And they know this. Just look at Tony's face when the jokes are about him being gay versus being a Nazi.
Tony Hinchcliffe is the only guy that goes to Trump rallies just so he can dance to the Village People.
Actually looks a little bit better in person. You must be using Crest white supremacist strips.
Gay, Nazi. Gay, Nazi. It's because he's not actually gay and loves homophobic jokes. Look, I'm not saying that Shane Gillis is actively spending time at his house thinking about the best ways that he can serve some kind of a fascist regime in his own brain. I think he's just a rich, successful entertainer who doesn't give two fucks. Comedy is just the medium, like music or poetry. If you wrote racist haikus for a living, you can call yourself a poet, but you're still a racist poet at the end of the day. The defense of all comedy is equal, all racial targets are valid, doesn't really hold up when society isn't equal and people are racially targeted for the color of their skin.
You've got black people today in America that own about 2% of U.S. wealth. After all of this time, about 2%.
Get ready to hear some real racist jokes from a guy who truly believes them and hopes J.D. Vance is watching. Guys, Tony Hinchcliffe.
His partner in crime, Tony Hinchcliffe, isn't neutral or apolitical. Even if it was a valid excuse, you can't hide behind the pretense that it's all in the name of comedy, because behind his jokes are actual policy, unleashing horror in the world. If you're calling out Zionists, what about the man that helped elect the war criminal pedophile who's currently destroying the entire fucking planet? When the reality is the same poor people he thinks he speaks for are the ones who will be the most affected by the same fascist structure he upholds, whether he knows it or not.
Believe it or not, people, I welcome migrants to the United States of America with open arms. And by open arms, I mean like this. It's wild. And these Latinos, they love making babies too. Just know that. They do. They do. There's no pulling out. They don't do that. They come inside, just like they did to our country.
ICE agents are disproportionately targeting people of color and people in low-income brackets. The epic and totally based Doge cuts disproportionately affect low-income families, seniors, children, and the disabled. Thousands of people without criminal records are being rounded up and thrown into concentration camps, and it's disproportionately worse for those who are already experiencing racial oppression in society.
It's the first time I've been called a Nazi multiple times in just a few hours. I guess that's what LA writers' rooms, all these...
And at the end of the day, if all you have is racism, then I hate to break it to you, but you're far from either the most racist or offensive routine in roast history. In fact, you're not even close. In 1993, at the Friars Club roast of Whoopi Goldberg, Ted Danson, who she was dating at the time, came out in full-on minstrel blackface and proceeded to do an entire routine filled with N-words. Yeah, that's right, Tony. You got out-racismed by Sam Malone from Cheers.
Immigration is amongst us, people. It's a real thing. It hits close to home. My own head housekeeper came up to me just this week. She goes, "My niece got picked up by immigration this weekend. Back in October, you told me to tell everyone I know to vote for this president. Do you think maybe you can help?" And I looked her right in her eyes and I go, "Juanita, the guest bedroom bathroom toilet is clogged."
So then what are you left with? Shocking, edgy humor loses its edge when it's not even a joke. It's just a reflection on how horrible the world currently is. If you need racism to make people laugh, then your craft is primarily focused on how to be offensive, when you should be working on the thing that's most important to all comedians: being funny. This is my dog Chico, and my name's Lance, and if you enjoyed this video, they take a long time to make and usually get buried in the algorithm and demonetized, so I know you've probably heard this before, but it really does help if you can hit the subscribe button and even give it a thumbs up. If you were watching this and for whatever reason there was weird jump cuts or random clips cutting out at strange parts, it's because the big baddies will copyright strike the channel eventually. For only $1, you can join the rest of the patrons and get uncensored bonus content. I'll be posting my review of the disastrous new Tony Hinchcliffe special exclusively there, so head on over to patreon.com/theserfs, and thank you again to all of our patrons.
特别鸣谢以下执行制片人 Political Puppy, Multi Monday Riley and Anna, Omni, Kid 185, Tigwick, Skylar Dean, Dot Cady, Hackbird Celine, Everything Important, Ward Springwood, Sebastian Demo, Roller Dragon, Bobby Lasers, Enter Cap, Soulcar.